For more, we're joined now by longtime resident of North Shuswap, Jim Cooperman. He evacuated to Kamloops, and that's where we've reached him. And so, Jim, you were forced out last week. Can you take us through that day?
Yes, it actually began the day before when we received word that they were planning to do a backburn, a planned ignition, in the hills behind us. And what they were hoping on was to burn off the forest in front of the fire that was moving our way, because there was a high winds that were scheduled to happen. And they waited too late in the day. They lit the fire too far away from the forest fire. And as a result, there was the backburn backfired. We were able to see it right from our house, looking out our back window. It was like a giant mushroom cloud. It was a huge fire that they created. And it already was a large fire. And then with that, it became much larger. So when the wind shifted and blew from the north, it started blowing the fire our way. And we became quite worried, but in the morning they announced that the planned ignition went fine and things were good, and we were more relaxed. But our daughter happened to be driving through Scotch Creek and looked up and saw the flames on the hillside, immediately phoned us and said, "Get out." We looked up and we could see that the fire was creeping over the ridge right behind us. And fortunately, we were all packed, pretty much ready to go, had to do some last minute things. And so we evacuated. However, the regional district did not issue the evacuation order in time. As a result, the people that lived to the east of us soon had no way to get out. They were trapped. And as a result, it's a one-way road in and out of our community, one-way paved. And they only had three choices. One was to evacuate by boat. One was to drive a long logging road to Seymour Arm, a very isolated community where there was no power. Or three, stay and shelter in place. Thus, we made it to Kamloops safely. Fortunately, we have family here, so we didn't have to stay in an evacuation center on a cot like so many other people did. And it's been very stressful and now very sad for us because so many of our neighbors lost their homes. Fortunately, our home was saved because of all the hard work we did to fireproof and our property.
So I was just going to ask you about that, because your house, I understand, it's still standing due to the fireproofing that you did. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You bet. I'm an environmentalist, and I'm very aware of the concern of climate boiling and the risks that we are facing as we go into the future from forest fires, floods, and other other disasters, human-caused disasters. So we took the necessary steps, one of them being logging our property. So we didn't live in a forest. We lived in a partial cut. We selectively logged. But we made sure to log most of the trees close to our home. And that not only was a key factor in saving our home and many other our buildings, but it also helped save our surrounding neighborhood. Because when the fire hit, we had a ground fire instead of a forest fire. We also took steps to further fireproof our home with, it's a log home, but we did some metal siding where there weren't logs. And the day before the fire, we thoroughly watered the hillside behind us because, of course, in the front it was all lawn. And when the fire hit, the ground fire it's quite dramatic. One of our neighbors who stayed went up there twice to check on our place and took this incredible photo of our house silhouetted with flames surrounding it, not surrounding it, but all in the back of it. And those flames and that fire only made it to where we had watered.
Wow. Okay.
So our survived.
Yeah, so your house survived. That is certainly some good news. I understand that you have said that Shuswap has turned into a police state. Why do you say that?
Well, there are countless numbers. There's hundreds of people that have stayed behind to protect their properties and fight fires. And these are not just your average Joe Q person. These are loggers and contractors, some with years of experience in fighting fires. And these are the true heroes on the North Shuswap. When the fire hit, all the fire personnel left. They didn't come back for 14 hours. And so it was these people that stayed behind and did the necessary work to protect us. And what has happened as a result was that they issued this evacuation order, and it's written in such a way that you are allowed to stay in your home, but they refuse to let anybody drive on the roads. They refuse to let supplies come in, so people are running out of water, running out of food, and to enforce that, they brought in many police, like dozens and dozens of police. They brought in SWAT teams, and when people started driving through the blockades that they set up on the roads, they brought in spike belts. One of our friends was bringing water back to his place in the back of his truck to fight the spot fires. That's the big problem right now. There are thousands of spot fires. In fact, I was back the following day. We managed to get through the blockade, and we worked on the spot fire near our home that was threatening our pump house for hours and hours, and it kept popping up days after that. But this fellow was headed to his house in a truck with the water, and he got the police chased him. They stopped him, pulled him out of the truck, made him empty the water out of his truck, grabbed his cell phone because he was filming him, and deleted the video that he took. He later was able to retrieve it from his trash bin in the camera, and then impounded his truck, leaving him to walk home. That is how the Canadian government, the BC government, and our regional district is treating the heroes in our community.
Jim, appreciate you taking the time to give us your perspective on all of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Jim Cooperman is a longtime resident of North Shuswap. We reached him in Kamloops, BC.